Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Tyvis Powell, Jason Lloyd. Plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Hey, oh, hey, look at that!
What?
I'm in the open and I'm on the shirt.
What have we done?
All right, so I went back. I was watching the show the other day on replay. I went back and watched it on YouTube, and I saw the new open. I was like, oh, cool, they got the new open up. And my daughter, Ava, is 11, and she's been furious that I was not in the open. She's like, Dad, why aren't you in the open of the show?
That's right.
And
we were too.
And she's mad I'm not on the shirt. So I showed her the open.
She's like, okay.
And she's like, all right, it's about time.
One down, two to go.
So I said, hey, let's fix the shirt. So sorry, Mike. Polk's out. I'm in.
You know, the problem with all of this is you've shaved now, so none of these pictures
I know.
either in the open or on your shirt.
It's really
match.
weird seeing Jason with no
I
beard.
have never seen you without a beard.
It was getting itchy. It was just getting itchy.
Yeah.
So I
it's
shaved.
crazy.
Gave it a shot. All right.
Man, that's nuts, man.
I actually, because I decided to start growing my beard again
Winter
this
beard,
week, the
right?
winter beard, right?
Yeah.
So I actually went to the woman who cuts my hair. I stopped by this morning just to go in for her to like trim up the beard on the ear and here.
That's a trim
And
up?
Well, like, yeah, look.
Little line
Oh,
up.
you
Made
got
a
the
straight
line, I
line.
see.
You know, straight line on the
So
bottom.
you go with the full neck beard.
Yeah, I'm all in on the
Oh,
neck.
that would drive me nuts.
No, I like it. The only place that I find itchy is right on my chin.
Huh, interesting.
And she put some sort of beard oil or something, made it feel better. I don't know.
Yeah, it
felt good.
softens the hair.
Yeah.
What you could do is start a new fad and just shave the chin. And leave
Yes.
everything else.
That would be an awesome look.
Please do that for one show. I want to see that.
Remember I came in one day with a mustache?
I do remember.
That was disturbing.
Don't ever do that again. That was disturbing.
You know what? For 30 seconds, I had a mustache too. I
should
left
have
the
done it.
mustache, and I was looking. I'm like, nah, man, I can't do that.
Bull
I
looked
can't do it. I'll get
like he
arrested.
was handing out random candy.
In a van with no windows.
Yeah.
You got, what?
Hey, we should
Yeah.
do an all
No, I like it.
mustache
By the
show.
way, we have breaking news. The water is no longer tainted here.
Oh, we have new water?
We have a fresh pallet of water,
We've been-
apparently.
But it's the same brand.
It's the same
fooled
brand, but it
before.
tastes fine.
We've been fooled before.
We have been fooled before, but it ebbs and flows, and right now
I think
it's
it all
decent
depends
water.
on what part of the month they draw it from the tap.
I guess
If it's
so.
early in the month, you're
Yes.
getting a lot of chlorine and the other things, fluoride, that
Yeah.
they put in the water system. If it's later in the month, you're getting a lot
Flint,
of
Michigan water.
It
basically,
tastes
yeah.
like it tastes like bathroom sink water in a
but-
fast food restaurant.
Exactly.
no.
But today it's good.
hose water.
Hose water.
Come on, you know, when we were 12, that was
Yeah.
fine. As adults, that's no longer good. Busy show. Obviously, we have the 30-minute show on WKYC. Deshaun practiced yesterday. I think you can call it practice. We're going to talk about that, talk about Indy's run game. If there's a part of their offense that I think a defensive coordinator would focus around, it would be that. Tim Couch is going to join us. Is this a trap game? We'll talk about that. And if it is, how do you avoid the pitfalls of a trap game? I mean, they're coming off a big win. That's part one to a trap game. Or looking ahead to a big game. And Seattle is going to be big. They have to win that. It's out on the West Coast. We'll get into all of that. But first, our first hello of the day to Mikey McNuggets. Hi, Mike.
What's up, guys? We should do a mustache show where we all come
No
in
Shave
with
Yes.
November.
just mustaches.
There is No Shave November, which benefits a really good cause. I did that a couple of years ago. Man, was that hard.
It'll take me 3 months to grow a mustache now that I shaved it off. I don't exactly
It
grow
takes,
it
it
quickly.
takes a while for you to get it back.
It doesn't
We
grow
will-
quickly.
It takes me
We
like
will
a day
discuss
and a half.
that. Yeah, Bull, you definitely grow faster than
I
Jason.
can hear his facial hair growing right now.
Can I borrow some from you?
Yeah,
Listen,
sure.
you can hear it.
Oh, you're right. I can. I can. Guys, you know what else you can hear? You can hear the winning tickets of certain members of the UCSS family on FanDuel. We're going to give another shout-out to a award-winning ticket in just a sec. But first, if you want to step in and snap in on all the action in the gambling world, you better be doing it at FanDuel.com/UCSS. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook, and right now, brand new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $5 on anything Win or lose, you get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. So you've been thinking about joining FanDuel? There is literally no better time to get in on the action than right now. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and much, much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL, an official partner of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. And as we mentioned yesterday, if you have a winning ticket on FanDuel, send it in. Today's winning ticket comes from Mary Kay Cabbage, who turned a $2 bet into a $55 winning ticket.
All right.
She had never bet on baseball before, bet on Nick Castellanos and Bryce Harper to hit a home run in Game 3, or Game 2, I guess, of the NLCS. Maybe it was Game 3. I'm not sure exactly when this came. But a $2 wager turned into a $55 profit, so shout out to Mary Kay Cabbage for that winning ticket.
And for a great Twitter handle.
That's crazy.
That's pretty. We can
crazy.
we can neither confirm nor deny that that's the real Mary Kay Cabot.
Yeah.
My guess is it is not. We had, what was the ticket we had yesterday? Was it a $2 or $5 bet turned into
$5 into
$6,200?
$6,200. 5 to 62. So you can win a lot of money on FanDuel. You better hop in and check it out.
I think we have to pick that fan's brain, and he should give us a pick so our fans can try to get in on the winnings.
Yeah.
I'd follow that.
Yeah, let me get that advice.
All right, let's get it going today. Deshaun Watson back at practice yesterday. I think for a lot of us, we got excited just to hear that he was back on the practice field throwing the football again. And then in my case, I looked at the video that Channel 3 brought back from practice, and that excitement quickly turned to skepticism. I'm going to say this, and it's just my opinion. He ain't playing Sunday.
Yeah.
I mean, based on what I saw, it will be a miracle if they put him out there. What did you see?
Yeah, I was not at practice yesterday, but Zach texted me and he was like, "It's no." And we're still on the
You
front
did see
end of
video,
this.
right?
What's that?
We're going to drop some video of him throwing into the chat. There's some links in there. If you haven't seen it, go look.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw it.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah. No, he missed on a lot. There was not a lot of oomph on any of the throws. And we still are on the front. And even Deshaun himself said it's a 4 to 6 week injury, and we're only 3 weeks out.
Sure.
So I don't expect him to play either. When he first said he was talking Wednesday at practice, I thought, okay, well, maybe. But when he was talking on Wednesday prior to practice, when he addressed the media, I thought maybe that was a good sign. And I talked to him briefly at his locker after that, was like, you got to practice, right? Like, you can't just roll out on Sunday. And he's like, oh, it's the NFL. I'm like, yeah, if I have to, I will.
Well, they did that to DTR,
Well,
essentially.
yeah.
But he wasn't coming off an injury.
Right, coming off injury and as much time as he's missed, you would think you'd want him to get a couple of really good practices in. Deshaun missed Wednesday, went through a little bit yesterday. Yeah. We'll see what happens today. But I think next week is probably a little bit more likely just from the sounds of things. And he said it on Wednesday. If he can't control the ball, he's of no use to anyone. So
everything seemed short to me.
Yeah.
You know, his passes were hitting the ground in some cases at the feet of the receiver. And it was just, even if you didn't look at the result of the pass, you just looked at the throwing motion, that's not how he throws the football.
Yeah.
He throws the ball with zip and energy, and it just wasn't there.
Hey, man, he throw the ball. He was throwing the ball like when you try to teach your child how to catch a fly ball for the first time, and you just throw it up like this and just let it lift up there so it don't hit him in the mouth. Man, it was terrible. Yeah, he's not going to be playing no time soon. He's not going to be.
Wow, no time soon. Not even Seattle, you think?
No, I don't think he's playing in Seattle. I think what they did, they just came. You always say win one for the Gipper. Like they just was trying to show the rest of the team, hey, he's out here. Look, he coming back. He just got to get acclimated. So now everybody, there's no doom and gloom. Now people's like, oh, well, he might not be done for the season. So now I'm more and more. I start to look at it. I'm looking at it from a situation where I might be with Bull. I might not bring him back to the Ravens game. I look at this game, what I saw with the film work, definitely not getting that off today. Seattle is all the way on the West Coast, and it's probably going to rain, and it's probably going to be not really great weather, and it's a tough place to play against a pretty solid defense. I'm not risking re-injury. Then you bring him back home. I wouldn't be mad at it if you played him against the Cardinals, but if you want to get him as close as 100%, you could get him and play him back on the road against the Ravens, and your hope is I can get 2 out of 3. If you give me 2 out of the 3 and then bring him back with the Ravens, you're in contention for something.
A lot of people took this as a bad sign that he didn't throw the ball that well. I took exactly what you said at the end. To me, this was a huge positive. He hasn't been on the field in a month. So the fact that he feels well enough to get on the field and make some throws. Now, what we don't know is, was he trying to throw real hard?
I would
and
hope
couldn't?
not.
Or
I mean,
was
Bernie said
was
yesterday
this just like,
not to.
hey, get out there, throw it a little bit,
Right.
don't, and, sometimes if you're not going 100%, you just kind of try, you're going to drop some bad passes short because you're not giving it your all. The Browns cannot rush him back, okay? If we believe that the Browns defense is the best defense in football, which through 5 games, 6 weeks, it is clearly. I don't think there's any debate. Then there's no reason the Browns shouldn't be able to win 2 of the next 3 games without Deshaun Watson. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. It's the NFL and you have a bad quarterback. But if the defense is as good as we've seen it be, and we believe it is, they should be able to win 2 of the next 3. If they do that, they will. I think yesterday I said 5-4, but they would be 5-3 actually. Right, with 9 games to go. Okay, now Deshaun Watson has sat nearly 2 months. That should be enough time. You would think. We've heard a lot, 4 to 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks. Well, the Ravens game is about 8 weeks from his injury.
Yeah.
That should be more than enough time.
Right.
And the more games they win without him, ultimately they're going to need him if they want to win in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. But the more games they can win without him, the less pressure there is to put him back in.
I was just going to say, if they win at Seattle and they beat the Colts, he's definitely not playing for me against the Cardinals.
No trouble.
I already got money in the bank.
Yeah.
I'm going to play the Cardinals at home.
To go back to the injury real quick for a second.
Sure.
It's interesting that quarterbacks don't really have a lot of rotator cuff injuries. It's a huge pitching injury,
Right,
obviously,
it
in
is.
baseball.
Yep.
But even Deshaun said he was trying to do some research on this, and there's just not a lot. Drew Brees had it, but he also had a torn labrum with the rotator cuff, and he needed surgery.
Yeah.
And I asked Deshaun, there's no surgery for this. He said no.
It's a micro tear. They wouldn't do surgery.
Bernie had it, and we talked about it on the show yesterday.
Now, the difference, though, is his was from a blow.
Right.
Usually, the rotator cuff injury is from overuse.
And that's why I asked him. I said, are you sure that it was the hit, and it wasn't just from you've been a quarterback your entire life, and so maybe there's some fraying in there, but they had no reason to look at it until the hit. He said, no, it was the hit. It was all the hit.
Yeah, it to me, it certainly looked like it was from the blow.
Yeah.
Particularly because he wasn't having any symptoms at all.
Right. Yeah.
If it was just a wear and tear, it would have crept up on him and he said, ooh, something in there isn't right.
Right.
He hasn't told us, or as far as I know, the Browns, that was the case. I think this was more about how he feels this morning than anything yet. I think in the Browns' minds, they knew he's not going against Indy.
No.
Again, there's no pressing need to play him at Indy. Now, there becomes a pressing need to play him against Seattle if they lose Indy. But right now, that's not the case. Mm-hmm. It's not house money because when you looked at the schedule when the season came out, you expected them to be at least 3-2 at this point. Some might have argued 4-1. I had them 3-2. That's exactly where they are. So I think this was more about how he feels when he wakes up today. What did he feel in the shoulder? Because I know when I've had the injury, and it wasn't a rotator cuff, it was a bicep tear and a labrum. You throw, and then you see how you feel the next day. And that's going to tell you, your body's going to tell you, oh, it's okay. It doesn't feel nearly as bad as I thought it would.
Yeah.
That would be a good sign. He's the only guy that knows that right now. Hopefully the media folks will find out later today exactly where he was when he woke up. But I think the plan all along, once he sat out the San Francisco game, give him a couple weeks.
It wouldn't surprise me if he didn't practice today, because if he's not playing Sunday,
I agree.
Why have him practice 2 days in a row?
And take reps away from
right,
PJ.
and get, you got out there. Well, now next week you get out there twice. We'll see.
Do we know if he took first team reps or not?
I don't. Well, I don't
Because that
know.
would be a big.
I heard it was split.
Yeah, it was. He did throw some balls. I get the way it was described to me was he would throw a ball to a tight end on a fade or a wide receiver, and then he would throw one to Njoku, and then he would step out,
right,
and PJ would come in. Then he would throw another ball on a fade. PJ would come in, take all those reps. So he was mixing in, but I don't think it was a deal where he's stealing a lot of reps from PJ at this point.
I heard the same thing.
Guys, yesterday Bernie talked about the fact that, he heard it, and then he felt good the next game, and then it got worse as he played.
Right.
But the huge difference is here, Bernie had the injury and then immediately played the following Sunday.
Right.
Yeah.
And then he had 1 week off because of a bye, and then he played again. So by the time it got really bad for him, well, he was now playing in his third game in 4 weeks.
Right.
Whereas, assuming Deshaun Watson doesn't play this week, and as of now we're all on the same page on this, it's going to be at least 5 weeks till he plays, where, again, Bernie played 1 week later.
Right.
That's a massive difference
It is.
in the two situations.
Yeah.
I would caution, though, the whole, well, if you win, you wait a week. The Browns have no margin for error in terms of giving games away in this AFC race.
Yeah, I thought of that,
when
too.
When he's ready to go, he goes.
Yeah,
period.
and when you're playing teams that you should win, those are games you think you should win with your starter, not your backup.
I know that, but I'm not saying. Obviously, if he's good to go, you play him. You know, even the Arizona game, if he feels like he's 100% and you feel like he's making all the throws, then fine. I don't think you sit him just because you've won the last two. But on the other hand, if they lose to the Colts, you don't rush him back the following week.
I agree.
Just because you lost
but there's
to the Colts.
two parts to this, I think, guys. One is he says he feels ready, but that's not the green light. The green light comes in practice when the coaches see he's making all the throws we need him to make for us to win.
You gotta have both,
And once
yeah.
you get both parts to that, he's back on the field.
Yeah.
And I think short of having both parts of that, he sits.
That's right, and that
It goes back to what he said when he can control the ball. When he can control it, when he can put it where he wants to go. He said the pain isn't really a factor. He can deal with
That's
the
what
pain.
Bernie said, too.
Yeah, he said it's not about I can deal with the pain, but if I can't control where the ball's going, then I'm of no use to my teammates. And he's 100% right. That's
Yeah.
true. So as soon as he can control it, I think he's back. I don't think you look and play the scheduled game of, okay, well, we won this one and this one, so we can afford – if we lose that one, they can't look at it that way. As soon as he's ready to play, as soon as he can control the ball, he's got to be back out there.
blindly make your bet on when he plays his next game. I'm going to say the Seattle game. That's my guess.
I'm going to say Arizona.
I'll say Seattle.
I'm gonna go with Arizona.
Now ask me on Monday or ask me at 4:00 on Sunday.
We be lying to ourselves if we don't think that these wins and losses count. Because the calculus is there. I get that you want to get him back when he says he's cool, but everybody would consider it. They'd be like, well, we did win 2 games.
Yeah.
Can we extend this a little bit? Because here's the thing, what Bernie said. You don't want
Fumble.
Oops.
You don't want to get to the playoffs, and then you're really shot. Right? Because Bernie said, I threw the ball really well the 2 weeks after.
Yeah.
I threw the ball well, played really good, but over time it wore me down a little bit. So, it's a tricky situation.
Yeah.
I think we are here because they did beat the 49ers, and we'll be conservative as long as they continue to win games.
But let's face it, guys. The Browns can't win a Super Bowl with P.J. Walker.
No.
We
I
know
don't think
that.
anybody thinks that.
We know that.
Yeah.
I mean,
so,
I drink Kool-Aid, but nah.
That's a whole different level of Kool-Aid.
If
you need some alcohol.
that's
Kool-Aid
alcohol.
to start
So
thinking
if
that
you
way.
have to lose a battle in the middle of the season to potentially win the war, keeping Watson healthy, you got to do it.
Now, Bernie talked about yesterday, too. It is the goal to make the playoffs. And what you have travels in postseason. So normally you want to be home for as long as you can be in the postseason. But what the Browns do travels well. Their defense, and it looks like right now the run game is the best part of their offense. We never thought we would think that without Nick Chubb, but it certainly isn't the passing game when you've got one wide receiver touchdown catch all year. So
I would argue that neither part of the offense has been particularly good.
No, if you had to pick one that is their bread and butter, I think it's the run.
I don't see that. They didn't run well against Tennessee. They didn't run well against
What is
Baltimore.
their rushing yards and receiving yards on the season?
I'm going to guess they've actually thrown for more yards. I'll pull it up right
Well,
now.
most teams do. Just
That's
because
also
passing yards.
that also is going to include Nick Chubb for the first
game and a half. Yeah.
So
they have thrown as a team for 991 yards this season. They have rushed as a team for 735.
Okay.
I think they're more of a throwing team without Nick Chubb than a run team. And that's
especially
terrifying.
when Watson's
That's terrifying,
playing.
given where
Especially
Well,
when
listen,
Watson's
if that's
playing.
the case, you got a problem.
Their offense is not
Because
good
just
right
like
now.
you
We know
can't
that.
win a quarterback or a Super Bowl with this quarterback, you're going to be really hard-pressed to win a Super Bowl with this passing game, period.
Or
Quarterback,
just
wide receivers,
throwing the ball to
everything.
David Bell.
I don't agree with that.
Yeah,
If
I don't
Watson's
know
healthy.
that I agree with that. If Watson's healthy, and we were talking about this when Mikey was going over the trade proposals that he came up with earlier this week. Receiver over running back, and the point I made to him upstairs was they're obviously they're content, I think, with their receiver room because they haven't had any injuries to the receiver room.
Everything we hear is that they are.
But
I don't think they should be.
But it's been the quarterback play that has, I think, not allowed us to really grade what they have at receiver because outside of one game, they've had terrible quarterback play all year long.
But Watson was there for 3 of them.
I agree, but he was terrible. So they had one good game of quarterback play. So I don't know necessarily receiver is as big of an issue as we think it is. They haven't anyone to give them the ball. Running back is the issue. They lost Nick Chubb.
Here's the thing, though, when it comes to like the quarterback and the wide receiver, as I see it, the top tier of quarterbacks, the elite tier, if you will, those guys make everybody better. Now, Deshaun Watson in Houston was that guy. In Cleveland, he hasn't been. That's to be determined whether he can still be that guy.
Right.
On the other hand, there's a handful of receivers, and the Browns, even Amari Cooper, in my opinion, is not one of them because I think there's like maybe 6 or 8 of these guys. There are a handful of wide receivers that make the quarterback better.
Right.
Or at least are immune to, even if you don't have a good quarterback. Josh Gordon was a guy like that.
They can still put up good numbers.
They could still put up big numbers because they're that special a guy.
When I look at it, go ahead.
And if you don't have one or the other, that's when there's a problem in the passing game.
My problem is that you have now in the AFC, you have teams who have a quarterback that makes everybody better, but they still have weapons that are guys that can really make a quarterback better. So they 2 up on you. It's not just one.
Yeah, the Bengals, the
Cincinnati
Chiefs,
has one of each.
The Bengals, Chiefs, and Bills all have one. I mean,
receiver and
Kelsey's
the
a
quarterback.
tight end.
The Dolphins
but still.
might have 2.
They could.
Yeah,
I'm not going
think
to
they
put Tagovailoa in the same category
No,
as
I'm
other
not either.
quarterbacks. But
We saw what he was
he's
without
rising.
weapons.
He's
I mean, it's
ascending
kind
the
of hard,
list.
bro. I mean, he putting up, like, it's like when you talk about the Dolphins, the offense, and the Browns defense, at some point in time, you can't keep saying that it's a small sample size.
But here's the thing. You got to do it when it matters. And he hasn't done that yet.
Yeah,
and
he's
neither
been
is Watson,
injured.
really.
My thing is, when you watch all 22, there's not much separation. Like, you got DPJ and some of the other guys. Those guys aren't really open. Like, they're just, some of the times you look over there and they just disappear. Now, they're going to look better when Watson's here. My thing is, if you're the Cleveland Browns, you need the running game. It's painfully obvious. And even if you're not going to get the 5.8 yards Chubb was going to give you, you have to stay consistent to it so that you can at least have some open space and somewhere to throw the ball.
Yeah,
And
they
they
were
did that
adequate
this
last
past
week. Yeah,
week.
they were
Yeah.
adequate there. We're going to talk about the Colts running game in a second, but first McNuggets has a read, and then we'll talk about what I think is the strength of the Colts offense, and that's their run.
Yes, sir. We're going to talk about the Colts in 1 sec. Before we do that, I need to remind the good people out there that if you ever find yourself in a situation where you need emergency medical care, Jace Medical is the place to be. They offer the Jace case, which provides 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use, giving you peace of mind so you're not hoping that you have access to medication in an emergency. Jace Medical makes sure you have the medication in hand, and it's simple. They handle everything from the online evaluation to licensed pharmaceutical medication delivery and ongoing consultation and care. So don't get caught unprepared. Get $20 off these life-saving antibiotics today from Jace Medical by using promo code LOCKEDON at checkout at jacemedical.com. That is JASE medical.com.
All right. I think the conventional wisdom coming into the season was the Colts will have a good running game once Jonathan Taylor gets out on the field. And to everyone's surprise, they've had a good running game even before he came back from the injury. Zach Moss is second in the NFL in rushing yards. As a team, the Colts are about in the middle. I think they're 13th in yards per carry as well as yards per game, which surprised me. Usually when you've got the second best running back in football, you tend to be a little higher as a team, but they're not. How concerned are you if you're the Browns coming into this game with the Colts running attack?
I mean, if I'm the Browns, I have zero worry about anything on defense.
Wow.
I mean, obviously, if Jim Schwartz is game planning for this game, the game plan is obvious. I'm putting 8 in the box, and I'm saying, Gardner Minshew, you beat us.
Yep.
Good luck with your and the Colts have one pass catcher who is anything but a jag, and that's Michael Pittman. Good player.
Really good player.
Maybe a pinch below Amari Cooper
Yeah.
in that neck
He's
of the
in the
woods.
I
neighborhood.
benched him this week. I have him in our league. I benched him going against the Browns.
Smart move.
Yeah.
Smart move. I actually benched Jonathan Taylor in a league that I have him in.
Yeah.
So I'm deep at running back.
Wow.
Because I'm like, I'm not expecting the Colts to do much offensively. Now, I don't think they're going to be. I don't think it's going to be as bad as it was. I don't think the Browns will be as dominant in the run game as it was against the Titans. But I think it's more likely to be that than it is the Colts run all over the Browns because, I was going to say they have a worse passing game, but I don't know. Titans don't have a good passing game either.
No.
The Colts, there's just no real threat in the passing game. So the game plan, yes, to stop that run. Now, other teams have probably had that game plan to some degree, but they don't have the talent on defense that the Browns have.
The only concern to me is that there's two of them, so they can stay fresh
That's my
longer.
concern as well.
Yeah, that's really it. In terms of can the Colts can their offensive line create enough of a push on this Browns defensive line to create holes for these guys to get through? No, I don't think so. But the fact that there's two of them and they can rotate, and we'll see how much they do that because Taylor obviously is just coming back. That remains to be seen. But outside of the fact that there's two of them, I don't think this Colts offense is good enough to move the ball on the Browns. I have very little concerns about Indianapolis' offense.
Man, 0, man. This is my concern face right here. No, you're not getting that off. I went back and just watched some of the film as we get into this game. And, there's not just one guy playing like this. There's 3 or 4 guys the Browns got that are unblockable right now. Right now, JOK looks like he's reading keys like he's Mike Singletary or something. I don't know how they got him to do that, but he's reading all screens. You can't throw screens on the Brown. You can't really run draw, and everything is just so condensed. Myles Garrett has condensed his playbook down to 2 things. All he's going to do is speed rush or just run right through your face mask and get in the backfield. Dalvin Tomlinson was a monster last week. Even Jordan Elliott was, and shout out to him. What way to save your career, son? You did. You was like, I'm not rooming with Schwartz anymore. No Anthony Schwartz for me. He deleted a lot of his old teammates' numbers. Like, I cannot be associated with you right now. I need to get my life together, and he has done that. I don't think they got a nice running game. Taylor can break along with that long speed. And that's something that you have to worry about. But when it comes to whether or not they're going to be able to do something up front, they stop McCaffrey, you stop Derrick Henry, and it's just the way they play and the intensity and how fast they play. It's just hard to get things going on the ground.
McCaffrey was having a decent game before he got hurt.
Yep.
But not the games he normally has. No.
I am now concerned because none of us are concerned.
Because nobody's concerned.
Right. And when we sat here last week and we talked about what we thought was going to happen against the 49ers, we were all wrong, except for G, who did pick the Browns. And so that kind of concerns me. Humble brag, I did it for you.
Yeah, look, I didn't have to say nothing.
So it does concern me that no one's concerned. Here's what I think the Colts are going to do. They want to run the ball. They know that Cleveland knows they want to run the ball. So it's going to be good old-fashioned, our front against your front, let's see who wins. Because that's their best hope. They can't put the ball in Gardner Minshew's hand and say, throw it around the yard 40 times and let's see what happens. That won't end well. So I think they're going to line up, they're going to commit to the run, and the one thing that gives me pause, I wouldn't call it concern, but pause is exactly what you said. Now, when was the last time an NFL offense used 2 running backs to have a great deal of success against any defense?
Ernest Biner and Kevin Mack.
Thank you. That's exactly where I was going.
I was joking, but I can't really think of another
They
one.
were 2,000-yard backs.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't happen in today's modern game.
There have been more recent examples.
There have
than
been.
that, but
But in our minds, that was the last time that a team
Yeah.
had a 1-2 punch in the running game that really caused a little bit of consternation for defensive coordinators.
Jonathan Taylor hasn't done much so far this year.
No, I thought Jonathan
don't-
Taylor was a one-hit wonder off of his spectacular season.
Yeah, and he was coming off an injury, so
but he is, to G's point, he is a threat. I mean, if you give
but
him
there's
daylight,
a lot of 1-2 punches, Jay. I mean,
not that carry football teams. What I'm saying is this is going to have to carry the team. There are 1-2 punches in the NFL, but they've got a passing game. The Colts do not. So I think what they're going to try to do is just wear the Browns defense down in the run. They can keep the legs fresh by alternating carries or, splitting the carries. But in the end, I don't see it working. I don't see them having much success. The Browns offense is probably going to have to score twice. And I think if they do that, they win the football game.
And the thing is, the Browns are now at a point, especially in the front, where they have good depth, and so they can rotate. It's not like they're not going to stay fresh on the defensive line also. So I'm not. Listen, to me, the only way the Browns lose this game, and this is possible because it almost happened last week, is if I was about to say Anthony Walker, if P.J. Walker turns the ball over a bunch of times. Right. That's the only reason they should lose this game.
You're right. I agree with that.
Is if he turns the ball over, because his 2 picks, almost a third, if he threw that third pick in the end zone, they would have lost the game.
Yeah.
That's the only way. Because the Colts are not going to, I don't see this, be able to methodically move the ball down the field just running the ball. I don't see it.
Look at
maybe once, that's about it.
The Niners, I think, were 3 of 12 on third down. The Niners.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would expect to see a whole lot of 3-and-outs, not a sustained drive, nothing that, is going to back the Browns' defense up on their heels. Look, I mean, we were surprised last Sunday, so it's the NFL, and it's week to week, and this is the same team with the same quarterback that beat the Ravens in Baltimore.
Yep.
But it's going to take a similar effort if they're going to beat the Browns on Sunday.
By the way, bet the house on the 49ers against the Vikings this week.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be Minnesota.
Yeah, no.
I would. Although we dinged them up pretty good. They went into Wednesday even. I haven't looked recently, but they went in with some injuries after that Browns game.
Debo's going to play. McCaffrey may play, although it's a Monday night. So, but I don't care who plays. I think they're going to destroy Minnesota.
Yeah. If you're going to bet on it, make sure you're using FanDuel.com/UCSS. We're going to welcome in Tim Couch here in 1 second. Before we do that, I just want to remind the good people out there that we are on WKYC Channel 3 from 12:30 to 1 o'clock today. 30 minutes of brand new, never-before-seen Colts-Browns content, including headline predictions, a creative batch of headlines today from your panelists and myself. Make sure you guys tune in for that on WKYC. If you're not in Cleveland,
you guys, you're not talking about.
If you're not, you're the one that's not creative.
I'm like,
if you're not in
I
Cleveland,
did mine while I think I was on the air on Channel 3, and I'm like,
there's a good chance you were because it came in at 5:04, which means you were on.
I literally was on the air when I did it.
If you are not in Cleveland, you can download the WKYC Plus app on a Roku or any smart TV, or on mobile, it's just the WKYC app, so you can watch it even if you're not in Cleveland. But from 12:30 to 1, we leave YouTube, head over to WKYC. And with that, let's welcome in our QB1, the one and only, Tim Couch. What's up, Tim?
What's up, guys?
Where's your mic? It sounds like it's in your desk drawer.
Oh, really? I've got the headphones in. Is it not good?
Oh,
is that better?
Better now. Yeah, it's better now.
Okay, all right, perfect. All right.
Much better.
Yesterday, we got more information on Deshaun since the last time we've had you on, right? We now know it's the rotator cuff. There's micro tears in there. Bernie was in with us yesterday. Bernie talked about he had that injury. He played with it, and after a couple of games, it got worse, right? He couldn't control the ball. Did you ever have this specific injury in your career?
I had 2 rotator cuff tears where I had 2 surgeries, so I didn't have the micro tear or the strain or whatever Deshaun is dealing with. I did have some soreness in a rotator cuff before, but I don't think it was as bad as what Deshaun is dealing with. But I did have something similar. It was a tendonitis in my throw and elbow that I had to deal with, and it was kind of a similar situation where it didn't, it was just kind of repetitions would make it flare up. I could throw fine for one day, but if I threw back-to-back days, my arm was really inflamed and I couldn't really get a good grip on the ball, couldn't control it, was losing velocity, those kind of things. So I missed a couple of games with that. And that's one of those things, too, where really the only thing you can do for that is rest, kind of like the strained rotator cuff and kind of strengthen that thing back through the rehab. But, obviously right now it's, not a good time to do that and take time off. So it's something he's going to have to manage, throughout the season. They'll probably have to keep him on a pitch count, so to say, in practice, keep his numbers limited, how much he's throwing, and just try to work through it that way. So hopefully he can get back out on the field this week.
How many games did you end up missing when you had that?
I think I just missed the first 2. I missed the first 2 games of that season, and then I came back and played the rest of the way through.
So I wonder, guys, sorry to cut you off, Jay, but I wonder if, you missed 2 weeks. Bernie played right there with it, and he was like, well, after a couple of weeks, I was a mess. But the fact that Watson is going to rest, if he doesn't play this week, at least 5 weeks, if not a little longer, I wonder if that gives him an advantage over you guys who came back so quick.
I would think so. It seems like he's being pretty cautious with it. Most guys are, I'll play through it. Just let me, limit me in practice a little bit, maybe give me a day off. Obviously, you're not going to throw the day before the game and those kind of things. So you're just in the rehab room with the trainers, getting getting treatment, those kind of things, keeping ice on it, doing the massage, everything that you can possibly do to get your arm in as good a shape as possible for Sunday. So a lot of guys try to play through it, and they battle it all year long. Deshaun has taken some extra time off, it seems like. So hopefully, he feels like he's ready to go, and we can see him back out on the field.
Tim, when you suffered the injuries, were they from hits? Because we talked earlier about how pitchers get this all the time in baseball. They're obviously not getting hit. It's just from arm wear.
Right.
Were yours both from collisions, hits, and not just overuse?
Yeah, mine was just from overuse. As you know, Jay, you were there when I was in high school. We were throwing the ball a ton in high school. So, my high school career, my college career, I'd just done nothing but be in the shotgun and throwing the ball. And I was just kind of one of those people who just loved to go out and practice. And, during the off season, I was probably throwing a little too much, just kind of overworked. And just woke up one day, after I left Cleveland, I was in Green Bay. I was in training camp. And woke up one morning and I tried to take the sheets off of me in the bed, and I couldn't move my arm in this direction. Wow. And I was like, oh my God, something's bad here. So I went to the trainers, and they went and did an MRI. And then next thing I know, I'm on the operating table, getting a surgery. So, mine was just wear and tear. It really wasn't a, one hit or anything that did it. So it just kind of accumulated over time.
Tim, this may sound like a dumb question, but, probably, we'll see if not. You tell me. Deshaun, he has this shoulder thing, right? As a quarterback, is there a specific way they teach you to fall if you get hit in order not to hurt? Like collarbone's a really big one, your shoulder gets jammed in or your elbow. Is there a specific way that you can kind of roll or move, or if you take a hit, do they teach you how to fall where you may not put all of the pressure or land on your shoulder, which is your moneymaker?
Yeah, definitely so. The coaches I had did anyway. I think it's, it's one of those things where you obviously, when you're falling, the first thing you want to do is kind of put your arm down to brace yourself. Yeah. And, that's kind of the last thing you want to do because all the weight of the defender is coming down on you as well. So, you can, hurt your wrist, an elbow, a shoulder, whatever when you land like that. So it's more of a, when you're going down, just trying to tuck that shoulder so it's not a direct hit on it. It's so you're just trying to, there's definitely an art to it. I think, you kind of get used to it as a player, even if you don't have a coach working with you on it. You just kind of learn how to fall the right way. When you're, a body's on top of you, you're going down. You just kind of tuck that shoulder, make sure, I just tried to make sure I didn't take a direct hit on it. That's really about all you can do. I'm not sure if Deshaun is, they work on that still, if that's something he's ever done, but certainly we used to do it back in the day for sure.
Tim, when you talk about when should Deshaun return, I want to go back to the Baker thing because I've seen this a couple of times, and I don't think I've talked about it with you since you've been on. To me, Baker played last year because he did not have a couple years ago because he didn't have a contract, and the Browns and Baker were trying to figure out a contract. Deshaun has the contract. How much of a difference does that make when you've got that kind of money guaranteed in a guy in terms of when you bring him back as opposed to a couple of years ago when there was no long-term guarantee and you were trying to figure out what he was worth?
Yeah, I think that plays a big role. I think you got $230 million guaranteed. You feel like you can take a little more time off. And, like in Baker's situation where, he's trying to get the contract extension. He's trying to get one of those big deals. And, he went out and played through a really bad injury. And, he probably hurt himself, doing that, because his play was subpar. His accuracy was off. His velocity on the ball was off. He didn't look like the same player from the year before when he took the team to the playoffs. So Baker probably hurt himself doing that. And that's kind of the fine line as a player. You have to decide, am I going to be able to go out and play through this injury and be effective enough to be, I know I'm not going to be 100%, but can I be somewhat, how far down, how big of a drop am I going to take from what I'm used to the level I'm used to playing at? Or am I actually going out there and am I hurting my football team because I can't throw the ball, I can't throw certain routes, I can't throw, over a certain distance or, those kind of things. So it's a fine line you have to weigh, contract and money and guaranteed money, all that stuff certainly plays into it, I would imagine. So, we've definitely seen both sides of it with Baker and Deshaun, what they've both had to work through with that. But, some guys make the decision, I'm going to play no matter what. I don't want to have give anyone a chance to go take my job. I'm going to be out on that field. And they're out there every week regardless. And then some guys say, I'm going to, just let this thing heal up and come back as the best version of myself.
Well, the beauty in this case is no one's taking his job.
No.
Certainly
not.
Exactly. Yeah.
They're tied together for 5 years, whether either party likes it or not. So,
I mean, one more win
That's
for
right,
P.J. Walker, and he might.
and we could have a quarterback
discussion.
controversy. Yeah, that's not. That's one thing we can eliminate on the drama sheet for the Browns this year.
For
That's
sure.
not going to happen. Tim, we saw him throw at practice yesterday, and it was what you would expect. Not a lot of arm velocity, and I'm sure that was by design. They weren't going to let him go out there and rev it up to 8,000 RPMs right away. But everything seemed short. Nothing had zip on it. Was this a case, do you think, where they wanted him to go out and throw a little bit and then wait and see how he feels when he wakes up today?
Yeah, I would think so. I think you kind of ease back into that situation. Let's go out and throw some of the short to intermediate passing game. Nothing where you're putting a lot of velocity on the ball. It's more about timing and rhythm, just getting the football out of your hand and just kind of getting a little timing back, getting used to the speed of the game a little bit. And then, if you wake up tomorrow, how does it feel? Is it inflamed? Can you go out and do those same throws again? Or are we taking a step back? So I think it's just kind of dip your toes in the water and test it and just kind of go from there. So I think it's kind of going to be that way for the next few weeks, at least with Deshaun with that type of injury. And, those kind of injuries can flare up easily on you. You push it a little too far. You throw, too many, routes where you have to put a little velocity on the ball. You take a direct hit on that shoulder. There's so many things that can set you back if you're not 100% healthy with an injury like that.
Tim, what do you look at? If the Browns are going to make a trade, we're 11 days, I believe, till the trade deadline. Looking at this team right now, if they were to make a deal, what do you think is more important? A better backup quarterback, a running back, a wide receiver, maybe even a left tackle? I don't know. What would you say, looking at this team, would be the biggest need to you?
Whew, man, we kind of need them all, don't we? I think if we could go get them all. But, probably – right now, if there was, I don't know who's going to be on the market, for a trade. If there was a veteran quarterback that you could bring in, right now that seems pretty promising because with a defense like we have, they're playing at a historical pace right now. And if you could just get some points on the board and, get ahead of teams and make teams have to throw the ball and let Miles and those guys just pin their ears back and go get guys, it really changes the game if you can go out and put points on the board offensively. And right now, with Chubb out, with a quarterback that's it's a quarterback situation where they're not able to go out and be explosive in the passing game, it seems to me like that would be priority number one. If there's nothing there, then I think obviously you look at the running back position. With Chubb being out, if you could go out and get a running back that could come in and take a lot of pressure off one of these, young quarterbacks that are in there, one of these backup quarterbacks, I think that would help a lot as well.
Is Andy Dalton enough of an upgrade if you went down that road?
Well, I think Andy's, I don't know. I think Andy's obviously, he's been around. He's won a lot of football games. He's obviously familiar with the division. So I think Andy would be, a guy that you could bring in. I'm not sure where he's at physically at this point in his career right now, but obviously, just a guy you can trust. He's going to go out and make the good decisions and go to the right place with the football and just kind of be one of those game managers for you. So, I think that's certainly an option. You can go down the road and take a look at him.
Tim, before we let you go, we got to get your report card on P.J. Walker because, part of this is, can this guy be the guy, the bridge to get you until Deshaun is healthy again? What did you see from him? Is he a serviceable guy over the next 3 games, or do they absolutely need to start thinking about bringing somebody else in?
Yeah, I think it was, it was kind of up and down, right? It was a little good, a little bad. He did some good things. He made some very timely throws in the game. He made, some big plays in the passing game to Amari. But then he had the turnovers. He had 2 turnovers, no touchdowns, I believe. So, it was kind of up and down, in my opinion, which is kind of what you expected. There was not much of a running game to take a lot of pressure off of him. I thought he played okay. It was just kind of, it wasn't overwhelming. I thought it was just, he played a decent game. He played well enough to win. And when you got a defense like that, you really just go out and don't mess it up. Don't put the defense in bad situations. And, he did a couple of times with turnovers, but, they were able to overcome that. So, I think, I want to see one more game. If he plays this week against the Colts, I'm excited to see what he's able to do with a game under his belt and a little more experience and within the system. So, just too early to tell. It's kind of a mixed bag in that first game. So we'll see what else he's got if he gets an opportunity to play again.
Kind of along those lines, what do you do with DTR? I mean, you don't have a ton invested in him, but obviously I still think he's the long-term option here. So do you have to do anything to rebuild him? Do you go back to him at some point? Or how do you just sort of restore if he lost it? Maybe he didn't lose any confidence in that one game, but it was pretty bad. So how do you go about sort of putting him back together?
Yeah, I think it's one of those situations where for a young player you can really break his confidence. Giving him too much too early, and he doesn't go out and have a lot of success. So I think it's bringing him in, putting him in situations where he can have a little success in the game. If he has to come in, give him some easy throws. Let's just start out and get him some screens, some slants, some quick game. Get the football out of his hand. Get the tight ends involved. Those are always easy throws for quarterbacks. Just build the confidence back up. I know for me, I kind of got thrown in as a rookie. The plan was for me to set my entire rookie year behind Ty Detmer, and that plan went out the window about halfway through the first game. So
patience. I remember that.
Yeah. Chris Palmer looks at me. We're down. It must have been like 40-0 against Pittsburgh in the home opener in the new stadium. He looks at me. He's like, "You're in." I'm like, "Oh, thanks for that. Like, what do you want me to do with this?" We're getting hammered. So, I think you can definitely break a young quarterback's confidence. So you you don't want to put him in those situations. Bring him in a little better situation than that.
So how do you know it's the right time? How do you know it's time to give him another chance?
Yeah, and I think a lot of it depends on how PJ's playing. If PJ's in there, if he's really struggling, then you really don't have a whole lot of choices. You got to bring somebody in to kind of spark the offense a little bit. So at this point, the way their quarterback situation is, it's kind of you don't have an opportunity to let him sit if PJ's not playing well and Deshaun's not healthy. He has to go in the game and try to get something going. But there's ways to, if he has to come in to build that confidence, like I was saying, just make the game a little more simple for him. It would help a lot, obviously, if Nick Chubb was in there, you could take that pressure off of him in the running game, but you don't have that luxury right now as well either. So it's going to be a little bit more on a young player than you want to put on him. But, Stefanski's a smart guy. He's been around this league a long time. He can come up with ways to make it a little easier to transition him into just kind of building that confidence slowly.
Tim, as we say goodbye, because we were so good with our picks last week, I'd love to get your pick this week. Is this a victory for the Browns on Sunday?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Browns in this one. I just think, with a backup quarterback in for the Colts and Minshew, I think the way the Browns are able to play defense, I think they'll get after him a little bit. I think they'll be able to stop the run game and kind of put the game in Minshew's hands, and then let Miles and Big Zadarius Smith and those guys go pin their ears back and go get it. So I'll take the Browns in this one.
All right, very good. Tim, thank you very much. We'll see you next week, man.
Appreciate it.
All right, Tim. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. See you.
That's the mindset. I think, let your defense – and hopefully this is the game where they get a turnover and give the offense a short field and they can do something with it, because we haven't seen that.
Yeah.
So
just don't make mistakes. That's all we're asking P.J. Walker to do, basically, is
Yeah.
don't turn the ball over.
a punt is okay.
I'm usually not a punt guy. You know me.
I know you're not.
I hate punts.
But a punt is okay.
But right
Live
now,
to see another series.
Yes.
for this team,
Bernie said yesterday, interceptions are worse than death.
He did
And
say
sometimes they can be.
that's a little extreme, but
It is
still.
a little extreme, but that's how Bernie
But I get
looks
his
at it.
point.
Jim Tressel, I remember the game at NC State in 2004, low-scoring game, and he said, I forget who the quarterback was. It was after Krenzel. He said, "Don't screw up our three." Like, that was the mindset. Just
Wow.
don't turn it over. We'll take the field goal.
Right.
Now we're really going back to old school football.
Yeah.
But don't mess up my three.
But this, at the moment, is an old school type of football
Yeah,
team.
it is. It
And
is.
that's how they
Don't
need
screw
to
up
win.
PJ. Don't screw up the
PJ
three.
almost screwed up
my
the
Lord.
three last
Yes,
week.
he did.
That's
Yes, he did.
My
that's not a
goodness.
good way to go down. All right, Mikey.
Hey, if you guys are watching the Browns game, which I know you all will be, you will also be tuned into the UCSS postgame show after the game ends, even though it starts with the 2-minute warning. Myself, G. Bush, Earl the Pearl, will be breaking down everything you need to know from the Browns-Colts game. Hopefully it is another celebration like last week was. If not, it'll be a therapy session just like it always is after losses. But win or lose, we are there for you, the #1 rated Browns postgame show in the entire city, so make sure you tap in with us.
How many we do last week? How many we do last week? McNuggets?
It's a record. It's a
About-
record.
It's over 35, isn't it?
Over 45.
45,000.
We're looking at we were trying to touch 50.
What's up?
You want a little practice throwing update?
He's throwing
yeah.
He's throwing today?
Zach Jackson said Deshaun first in line, made all his usual practice throws. We only see the first 10-15 minutes. From what we saw, it appeared he was more willing to let it rip than yesterday.
Interesting.
Official game designation will come in an hour.
It doesn't.
He just tweeted that.
The fact that he's
We'll have
practicing.
breaking news on TV.
We will.
The fact that he's practicing again today and
Good
cutting
sign.
it loose a little more.
Good sign.
makes you think that maybe it is possible he's going to play this week. I don't know.
I still think they're going to be conservative. This is only 3 weeks, and the timeline that Deshaun gave us was 4 to 6.
Yeah.
I think they'll be smart and
No,
conservative with them.
this is the 4th week.
Sunday will be
Sunday will be 4 weeks since the injury.
Well, I still think you rest him one more.
But it certainly feels like it's trending towards him playing against
Well,
Seattle.
it is better.
Yeah.
It's better news that he's throwing today because if he woke up with pain, the last thing they would do is tell him to go throw
right,
again.
exactly.
That indicates
So
that
he must have
perhaps
felt fine,
the
yeah.
bleeding and the tear is stopped.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have the inflammation and swelling and pain.
And
that
I'll
he
go back to
once
what I
did.
said earlier. If he can control it, you put him out there. You deal with the pain. You don't consider this, hey, we won last week, we can get by. No. As soon as he can control it, he feels okay, he goes out there and plays.
Mary Kay just tweeted same thing that Zach said, except she added eyeball test, and this is according to her. Eyeball test looks like a go for the Colts game.
Let me throw this out here.
That could be hard. That could be cart before horse.
Bet the Browns -3 right now because that spread's going to go up if he plays.
Let me throw this out
Well,
here.
let me look at FanDuel, see what the latest spread is.
Deshaun Watson.
That's a risky statement.
He may. I'll give you credit. He may understand the moment, right? So bear with me here. If Deshaun Watson comes back in this game, he's like, okay, I played well against Tennessee. Everybody knows what I got. I got a slight tear. Everybody knows what I got is a serious injury, okay? If he comes back against the Colts and balls out, he not only gets credit for playing hurt, he gets way more credit for saying, is Deshaun Watson finally back? Because if he's going to say, look, I played well against Tennessee, I even got hurt, was off a bunch of weeks. I came back against the Colts. I hit my throws. The team and offense looked good.
I think the Kool-Aid wagon's running amok here.
Nah,
he threw for the second day, and one of the reporters says eyeball test looks like a go. Let's not have him throwing for 400 winning by 20.
On the FanDuel Sportsbook, the Browns remain -3. Get it now because if it's announced he's going to play, that's shooting up.
It will definitely go up.
Hey, suit jacket G. Bush on Fridays don't miss often. I just let you know that.
Well, that's true. You nailed it last week.
If Deshaun, I might say he gonna play, but if he does play, and he plays well, you have to look at it and say, is he fully back?
That is hopefully a fun topic for us to discuss next week.
Now look, we don't know that we'll have much more information about an hour from now, and the only problem for you is that you're going to have to go over to Channel 3 to find out the latest information because we'll be on WKYC Channel 3 Cleveland at 12:30. Now, I know that we have a lot of viewers that are not just outside the Cleveland area, but outside the state, outside the country. You can watch too. Go to WKYC.com and click Watch Live or download the WKYC Plus app. It goes right to your smart TV, and you can watch us on the big screen like you would any other regular television show. So we will have that breaking news in our Channel 3 window. So
my guess is he's going to be listed as limited and questionable for the game.
I think he would be questionable
probably,
too. And then a game time decision, but likely leaning towards not. I asked the guys yesterday, you weren't here, so I'll ask you now. Is it possible that it doesn't have to be an all or nothing thing? Is it possible where he says, I feel pretty good, I think I can go, and they still decide to go with PJ, but PJ looks horrible through the first 2 quarters, and we see Deshaun play in the second half?
No.
Do you think it's an all or nothing?
No, if he can go,
No
he's going to go.
chance.
I don't think they start
And if he
with
can't,
PJ.
then he won't at all.
No, if PJ starts and he looks awful, I think it's going to DTR. If Deshaun can go, he's going to go.
All right,
I'm
good.
starting to lean toward maybe he is going to go. Only because of, like I told him, like we talked. No, but
he's ramping up clearly.
I was talking to him in the locker room and said, like, yeah, he was ready to go without even practicing.
I know, but remember, it was Mary Kay's tweet a couple of weeks ago from Deshaun himself that made all of us say, wow, he's playing.
Well, but Mary Kay is tweeting her observations, not something he said.
I'm right.
I'm not even going off the Mary Kay tweet right now necessarily. I just think.
What other information is leading you to think he'll go?
I'm just watching some of these videos come out, and he's got.
He cooking?
There's more zip on the ball today. There's definitely more zip on the ball today.
More zip than nothing, just still not necessarily.
No, I know. But again,
the coaches will know if it's the right.
In his mind, and the coaches, if he can control it, if he can put it where it needs to go, he's going to play.
Now, Bernie said something interesting talking about his injury. He said 8-10 throws in a row, no problem. But it was the involuntary muscle twitch that you didn't know when that was going to happen that for him left the ball sailing.
Yeah.
But again, Bernie played immediately after the injury the next week.
Correct. But
it's,
I don't know. 3 weeks after the injury, he said it was shot. Now, he had thrown the football all through those weeks of practice and playing in the game. So,
and it's also worth stating, again, like Zach tweeted, reporters are only going to see the first 10 or 15 minutes. That's it.
Right.
So we don't know if he's really going to cut it loose today or not.
Right.
If he really cuts it loose today, feels okay
what
tomorrow.
time does practice end? It's after our window for sure.
Yeah.
It's at 1:55 or so. I looked at the
I'm actually
schedule
trying
now.
to get over there after our live show.
Yeah.
It's also, this is an opportunity this week for the Browns to gain some ground because the Ravens are playing at home, but they're playing Detroit. I mean, that's a tough game. The Ravens are favored by 3 at FanDuel. I like the Lions a lot in that game. I think the Lions are going to go to Baltimore and win.
Yeah.
By the way, the Lions are sneaky really good on defense. Nobody's paying attention to that.
I know they are.
They're sneaky good on defense, and we know what they are on offense.
Yeah.
Oh, trust me, they're
and
good.
the Steelers have to go to the Rams, and the Rams are a decent team.
And any trip to the West Coast can be.
Yeah, the Bengals are on a bye this week, so the Browns, we could see the other teams both losing. Not a short thing, certainly. But
No, look, Indy went to Baltimore and beat them. I can't imagine the Ravens losing 2 straight home games, but stranger things have happened.
Man, listen. If he plays against the Colts, it tells me that they ain't trying to punt on nothing. They ain't punting on nothing. They're like, yo, we got a nice defense, but we're going to make sure we get these wins. To Jason's point, you're in a competitive division. You can't afford to drop games.
Competitive conference. The entire conference is bottlenecked.
Like crazy.
12 of the 16 teams have 3 wins.
As soon as he can go, he's going to go.
Yeah. All right. Very, very good. All right. Well, you just gave me some traffic.
Yeah, we're gonna skip the trap game because Bernie Kosar touches on it in the TV version of the show. We kept Bernie around and did a little interview with him. We're gonna go to the 6-pack and McNuggets stats here because there's a couple of these that I think are gonna lead to a little longer discussion, and we have an extra stat today. Before we do that, as Bull alluded to a second ago, the Browns are 3-point favorites on FanDuel as of right now. If you want to bet on the Browns, you better hop on them right now because that could go up if Deshaun Watson is announced that he'll be playing. And there's no better time. Seriously, guys, there is no better time than right now to become a member of FanDuel. It is America's #1 sportsbook. That is unquestioned and a UCSS fact. And right now, new customers get $200 of bonus bets guaranteed if they place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, like I said, there is no better time to get in on the action than right now. The Browns 3-point favorites. If you want to get in on that action, head over to FanDuel.com/UCSS. They have spreads, player props, over-unders, much, much more. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL, also an official partner of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. So check them out over at FanDuel. Guys, are you ready for 6 stats that you need to know for the Browns-Colts game?
I need a
this
6-piece. I need a 6-piece of McNuggets.
Let's get it.
This is a good one. I had 5, and then I found one more yesterday. And, Jason, I found the pre-motion snap stats that I was looking for. I asked Jason to dive deep into the Athletic, and even the Athletic guys couldn't find it, but I found it. We'll get to that one last.
Too.
But first,
Who's first in the?
we'll get to it. It's the last one. We're going to start today with the 6-pack of McNugget stats you need to know. Is a little homage to Amari Cooper. Did you know that per NFL's next-gen stats, Amari Cooper leads the NFL in sideline receptions this year with 6. Receiving yards on sideline receptions with 158. Receptions over expected, 3 more than expected, and yards over expected on sideline catches at 90 yards more than the expected. His 27-yard catch against San Francisco on the sideline against the 49ers defense was the single most improbable completion of the entire 2023 season.
I believe that.
According to Next Gen Stats, they said he had a 1-yard distance between him and the sideline, 0.8 yards of separation, and the ball traveled 40.4 yards in the air. We give Amari Cooper a lot of credit. He stepped up in the biggest games the Browns have played, but what he has done, especially on the sidelines against San Francisco and that Pittsburgh game, is better than any other receiver has done in that area of the field this season.
He should have at least 15 or 20 more yards on those sideline catches because if a ref could see right in front of his face and didn't call him out, he had at least another 10 to 15 yards, and who knows?
He might have scored.
He might have made the one move that put him in the end zone.
You know, it is a skill or an art form, really, that we don't really talk about much. the ability to catch a ball on the sideline and keep your feet in bounds. There's guys that are not good at it. We've seen Elijah Moore a bunch of times. He's all discombobulated when he's near the sidelines. Yes. And he's not alone. A lot of wide receivers struggle being able to make the catch and drag the feet.
That's where I was going to go.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you as a former player, what's more difficult, you think, for a receiver, a sideline catch or going over the middle in traffic knowing you're going to get hit?
Sideline catch, because now they've eliminated most of the stuff over the middle. Before, they used to just,
you can't tee off on a guy.
Your face.
Yeah.
You're still going to get hit, but on the sideline, you not only got it's like a feel. Like, you can't look at your feet. You just have to feel where the sideline is, and it's like a sixth sense type thing. And you have to worry about catching the ball and catching it going to the ground, so there's no bobble in it, and you fall out of bounds, and usually you don't have the arm to brace yourself. So it's much more. It's just tough on the sideline.
And it seems to me that guys used to be better at it. In my memory, there used to be a lot of guys could do that, but now there's a lot of guys that, and you bring it up.
Yeah, it's
a lot of guys now can't do that, and it seems like that should be one of the necessary tools.
I think a part of the problem, this wouldn't explain why it was better before, but the fact in college you only need one. So these guys, their whole life are used to getting one down.
But it was that way
that's
before.
always been
That's why I'm saying.
It was that way before. I can't understand it. But man, on those late '80s, early '90s Browns teams, they had 4 or 5 tap dancers. I mean, they were constantly making
Langhorne was really good.
Langhorne was one of the best. Bernie talked about that yesterday. But they had a lot of guys that could go up and make the catch and get those toes tapped in.
Yep.
And
maybe it's just the Browns, besides Cooper, that are not as good as as he used to be.
Athletes are better. The corners. I'm not gonna say there were no great corners back in the day, but nowadays, if you got great receivers, you have corners who have been practicing these same routes. They're man-to-man coverage, and they make it difficult sometimes, especially the way that they sneaky and hand fight with you.
Right.
Pull you and grab
That's
you
true.
and bump you, and all it takes is that little split second, and all of a sudden it's a blade of grass.
Was it Santonio Holmes?
He was
Super
he
Bowl?
was crazy. He was
Oh
crazy.
my God,
His
that's
feet-
one of the
crazy.
greatest you'll ever
think
see.
about
I think Marvin Harrison. We showed that catch he made last year where it looked like he was a contortionist.
Yeah.
He's going to be the next great, I think, in the NFL at that.
Well, think about it. If you're mostly watching the Browns this year, you're not going to see a lot of those great sideline catches. A, the only one good at it on the Browns is Amari Cooper, and B, the Browns' defensive backs have been so good they're not giving up a lot of those on that end. So we're not seeing them much in the Browns games.
To the second nugget here.
Yeah,
Right. Here we go.
G, you said man-to-man coverage. Bull, you mentioned the cornerbacks. Well, how about this? It has officially been the no-fly zone for the Browns secondary this season. Through 5 games for the Browns, they're playing the 6th highest rate of man coverage in the NFL this year,
that'd be higher.
63%.
I thought
They
the
are first.
rank would be higher.
Yeah.
They are first in opponent QBR, a 7.5 opponent QBR in the 63% of snaps against Browns in man coverage. Their opponent quarterback's completion percentage,
unreal, really.
first in the NFL at just 44%. And their average, this is not yards per completion. This is yards per attempt. The
That's
NFL
horrible.
average in yards per attempt is 8.9 yards per attempt this season. Against the
half
Browns
that,
in man-to-man coverage, opposing quarterbacks are averaging 4.4 yards per attempt.
That's like Tim Tebow playing quarterback, basically.
They are doing.
Got to get that Tebow shot in.
I can't pick on Baker all the time.
Hey, that's funny.
He's got to spread the hate.
But spread that love. McNuggets, it's funny you brought this up. I was up late last night. It was like 3 a.m. And I was just looking over just random stuff. And I came across this film work of what the Cleveland Browns was doing against the 49ers. And this dude really, I'm not going to take credit for it. He really was breaking it down. And he said, the Browns are running, all this man-to-man coverage, but why does it seem like these teams, it's hard to run man coverage and not have breaks? So what the Cleveland Browns are doing is they're making all of their corners play outside leverage. So basically what they're saying is, I'm taking all the deep outs, all the deep comebacks, all that stuff away from you. You're going to have to run routes over the middle. And he said, well, teams like running routes over the middle. But the point is, and the difficult thing now is, the Browns are running that, but they're putting their safety, Juan Thornhill, in what is a robber technique where if you catch the ball, they're inviting you to catch it over the middle. They have a linebacker in robber coverage, And they also have a safety in robber coverage. So even if he catches the ball, he's going to have to catch it in traffic, and he's going to get tackled immediately. And they can do that because they're rushing 4 guys, and they're getting pressure, and Myles Garrett is getting back there in like 2 seconds.
And when you play outside leverage, you give yourself extra defenders. The sideline is a defender.
Yep.
So you're taking away a lot of the passing lanes, and not everybody can do it. I'm sure a lot of teams are looking at what the Browns are doing and saying, we'd love to do that. We don't have the skill set. But when you've got the skill cover corner that can lock a guy down, you can force him to the outside, use the edges as an extra defender, and to your point, catch it over the middle, but you're not getting much when you do.
Yeah, they're already in the passing lanes, and that's why you saw MJ Emerson get that interception. He was playing outside coverage, and Myles Garrett just forced to throw it and was late in his timing, but it looks as if when you pause it, it looks like, well, whoa. He's open, throw the slant. But they have a linebacker. They have linebackers and safeties that are standing right there waiting to jump that route. And it's just, it makes it very difficult because it takes half your routes away.
Mike, are the teams that are second in those categories even close to the Browns?
No.
I didn't think so. I mean,
Well, hell, their 4.4 yards per attempt that's half of the league average.
Well, no, not
in man coverage.
Oh,
No,
is it?
that's
Yes.
the league. That's just the league average in Europe. I'm not sure if that's men's.
I thought you said it was 8 point.
that is that's against all coverage. That's just as
All
quarterbacks
coverage.
throw.
Right. So when they go man, you're cutting that in half. You're
Yes.
at 4.4.
Yes.
That's still impressive as hell.
Oh, it's incredible.
It's
more than
All
impressive
those
as hell.
numbers against man coverage are ridiculous.
Gun to my head, I would have guessed that the Browns lead the league in man coverage.
I would have said they're top 2
I
or 3.
can't believe they're
I'm-
sixth.
Who's
yeah,
playing
but the
more
difference
man?
between first and
I
sixth
bet
could be
Detroit,
like 1%,
Right.
you know.
The number 1% is 67%. So
And
it's
what are the
like
Browns?
63.
63.
So it's
And
four-
it's minimal.
It's pretty close.
who is leading in man coverage?
Detroit's up. I have to pull up that. Hold on.
I would think
That's all right.
Detroit would be ahead of them.
Detroit's up there. Let me get through the rest of this. I got
Okay.
to dig back through
Yeah,
it.
it's
But
fine.
they're
Let me
high.
ask you this real quick.
Yes.
G, let me ask you this. When a team has 3rd and long, is the defense more likely to play zone in a 3rd and very long situation?
Yes, because if you're playing man coverage, there's 3 or 4 ways you could give them automatic first down.
Right.
So if it's 3rd and 12, you want more guys that can be back there. You just want to make the tackle and get off the field. So, yeah, I would assume on 3rd down you're playing.
So I
more
wonder if, I mean, who knows? But I wonder if the reason the Browns are 6 instead of 1, which is not really a big deal.
Because they've had 3rd and
is because
long.
maybe teams have had a lot of long situations.
So you'd go more to zone.
So you're playing,
It's
that's
possible.
why you play, you know.
Yeah, it's entirely possible.
Dallas is number 1, by the way,
All right.
at 67%. So very minimal difference. The next stat you have to know is really 2 stats tied into one player. It's Gardner Minshew, who is starting at quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts. And I'm going to set this up to bring to the big point here. Gardner Minshew has been a productive quarterback in the NFL. His career touchdown to interception ratio is 47-18. That's 2.6, which is right on pace with Deshaun Watson, who has a 2.67. They're essentially the same in terms of touchdowns to interception ratio. That's not a shot at Watson. That's a kudos to Gardner Minshew.
No, that's a great ratio.
For having a very good touchdown to interception ratio. As a starter, he's not nearly as good as he has been in his career in relief appearances. Dating back for 2 seasons, he's 2-0 when he comes off the bench. He's 2-10 as a starter. Here's the issue, and this is where the Colts are going to get in trouble. Last week against Jacksonville, Gardner threw 3 interceptions.
Right.
All of 3 came under heavy pressure. The Browns had the 5th highest pressure rate in the NFL at 28.1%. Gardner Minshew has the single lowest PFF grade against pressure this season, a 23.1 grade. That is 57 points on the dot, lower than his PFF grade in a clean pocket. Now, PFF grades
I
don't
would
mean
say that's
everything.
unfair, Mike. He's only played 1 game, though, right?
He's played
Or
in all
2?
6 games this season.
Yeah, he's
Bull.
played in everything.
He played in every game this season. Here's what you have to know, though. More than just a PFF grade.
Right.
PFF tracks turnover-worthy throws, so throws into coverage, throws that could have been picked off that didn't.
Which is a very, very valuable
He hasn't
stat.
played all 6. He's played quarterback in 4.
He's thrown a pass in all 6 games.
No, he hasn't.
Yes, he has.
He came in the first game. I know Richardson got hurt in the first game.
Yes.
So he did come in and relieve.
In the first game, he threw 2 passes, and in the 4th
So
game, he
played.
didn't throw any.
Yeah. I said he threw a pass in every game this season.
But he didn't throw any against the Rams.
Bull, you're arguing literally nothing right now. Let me finish this. Go ahead.
You're stating a fact that's incorrect.
You're arguing nothing right
Is
now.
that what I was like? Yeah, that doesn't really count.
Here's what's important, though.
Yeah.
Gardner Minshew, no matter who he's played this season, 12.7% of his passes under pressure have been considered turnover worthy. It's the highest rate in the NFL.
That's awful.
Overall, his overall rating is a 6.7 turnover throw ratio, which is also first in the NFL. If you can get to Gardner Minshew, he's going to give you opportunities to create turnovers. We have spoken all week long about how this Browns defense, as good as it's been, the one area they have not been elite in is creating turnovers.
So
no one's going to give
in
them
third
potentially
long.
more gifts than Gardner Minshew. And I don't want to steal Jason's headline because I know what it is, but Jason, I have it in my notes, and I'll let Anthony confirm. Do I not have exactly what Jason has on his headline? Yeah.
I
Anthony
didn't have the
confirms.
numbers to back it up, but I kind of was going along the lines of what you just showed us with Minshew's numbers. Although the more terrifying part to me is P.J. Walker's PFF grade last week was basically Minshew's under pressure.
Yeah,
right?
it
Like
was.
23, 24, somewhere in there. That's mildly terrifying. So hopefully Deshaun.
A buddy of mine who's not a Browns fan texted me because he said, "Is this a dub for you guys this week?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Yeah, I've been reading a little bit of Cleveland media. You guys are awfully cocky with the guy who damn near threw the ball." I said, "I know.
Yep.
It's not, but it was against a good team. But
I do think I'll give away the little bit of headline. I do think the Browns are going to win this game, but man, we're just looking at the Colts like,
I know.
And they beat Baltimore in Baltimore
that's
with
it.
Gardner Minshew.
Yeah,
like
no.
this is not.
This is not by any means is this a layup.
But I do think they win the game.
I think we're giving
And
them
they
credit.
beat a decent Houston team also.
We're giving them credit for we're giving them credit for the defense, not the offense. Like the defense is why we feel confident.
Yeah, but we had that defense against Pittsburgh and Baltimore too, and that didn't work out.
Well, I mean, Pittsburgh. I like the defense against Pittsburgh.
I did too.
Like
what I'm saying is the offense has to do something.
Yeah, they got to do something. Like,
Of course the Browns can lose this game.
yeah, anybody can lose any game.
Of course.
Right?
kidding.
But
Any given Sunday.
But the reason I think fans are a little I wouldn't even say arrogant. I would say confident is because when you look at like this defense and look at what we're playing against, the thing that travels is, hey, are you going to play hard? If the Browns play hard and the Browns play physical, their talent, you can't. I mean, they can't do anything with Myles Garrett. You just can't, right? So I just saw Myles Garrett throw Trent Williams around like he was like a kid. If Myles Garrett comes out and plays at that same energy level and effort, I think the Browns have a massive advantage. Now, the offense has to not turn the ball over and get some points, but I don't see a problem with saying that they should beat the Colts.
No fan base is not going to be cocky after the team beats the 49ers. The 49ers are the best team in football. The Browns, with a non-NFL quarterback, beat them. So, of course, you're going to be cocky.
Yeah, I don't like cocky with P.J. Walker as the quarterback. I can be confident. Cocky is we've got this. I'm far from that.
Browns should be cocky about anything.
I don't think any team should say I got
Here's
this.
here's the worst part about this. It's been win, lose, win, lose, win.
Yeah.
Will anybody be shocked if the Colts win the game? I'm
No.
not going to be shocked.
No.
if the
Not going to
Colts
be
win the
shocked at
game.
all.
I don't think any
No.
fans would be shocked if the Colts
to
win the
me,
game.
cocky is we've got this.
Yeah.
I don't
and-
think
and
people feel that way.
I don't think.
know.
But I've heard a lot of folks.
But who
that,
cares? That's
that
how,
are saying
that's what fans do for every team.
I know.
Yep, but you got to be careful.
Yeah.
And then if the
my
Browns
hope is-
if the Browns lose, everybody will say they're going to suck against Seattle because we're all prisoners of the moment.
We're such a man. I think at some point we're going to realize that we're a win-loss, 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 win-loss. I think if you do that, you're 9-8.
Yeah.
You got to string them together, and there is no better time, and really probably no better opportunity than right now.
That's why I said it's a must-win.
You
People looked at me like I was crazy. I'm
because
like,
there's no must-wins when you're 3-2.
you got to string them together, and it's no better time than start than now.
You better get them against teams you're supposed to get them against, because if you don't, then you have to find a way to come up with wins against teams you're not supposed to beat.
Well, they've already won 2 games where they were an underdog.
But they lost at Pittsburgh. They were a favorite.
Yes.
And I'm guessing they were a favorite against the Ravens because that game
No,
was
they
home.
weren't because Watson didn't play.
Yeah, you're right.
They
I'll
were
give
like
them the
a
Ravens game.
-1.5. It was essentially a pick 'em.
Yeah.
What
It
game was
was, yeah.
-1.5?
The Ravens,
The Ravens.
before Watson, and then when Watson went out, the
Yeah.
Ravens became favorites.
Obviously.
Also, Bull, I would like to apologize. Bull was right. I
Thank
was
you.
wrong. The ESPN game log showed he played 5 games. In my head, they had only played 5 games. I
I
forgot
see.
India played
Yeah,
6.
yeah.
So, Bull,
It's all right, but you were
I would
actually-
like to apologize.
How many passes has he thrown this year? That will tell
About
us how much he's
100.
playing.
He has 138 attempts, so it's a
Okay,
big enough
so,
sample
yeah, that's a
size.
good
Your
we can judge him.
general point was correct that he's played enough.
Yeah, we can judge him.
That's
That's
fine.
my bad. Listen, I'll admit.
It's not your
when I'm
bad.
wrong.
What's your next? what's your next fact?
I should not have stuck on that topic, even though I was factually correct. It was unnecessary. So
All right, well, we just gave a couple great stats to the Browns. This one, not so great. Something we have all noticed, and when you see the numbers, it kind of hurts even more. But the Browns are dead last this season in yards after catch as a team. As a team, they have 430 yards after catch. Second last in the NFL is Tampa Bay with 478.
Wow.
So
Does
once
Tyreek
again,
Hill?
I have that number for you both.
Okay, yeah, I like it.
First in the NFL is Miami with 970. The Browns are dead last with 430. Tyreek Hill by himself. The Browns have 430 as a team. Tyreek Hill has 323 by himself.
Mike, you're in my
No
brain. I
single
love it.
Browns player is averaging more than 4 yards per catch after reception, or yards after catch, that have actually played. David Bell has a 5.0 on the dot, but he has like 3 catches, so I didn't count him.
Yeah.
Cooper 2.8 yak, Moore 3.1,
Wow.
DPJ 3.3.
Wow.
Essentially,
God,
the
that
Browns
receiver
catch the
room.
ball, the Browns get tackled, end of play. That's an issue.
There's a lot of reasons for that go into that, right? Guys
Sure.
are not super fast.
Yeah.
Guys are not wide open. They're not running free. Some of it is the quarterback not hitting guys in the right spot.
He had a chance, Deshaun did, to give Marquise Goodwin a lot of yards after catch on 2 throws, and he missed.
This has been a problem for the Browns for a long time.
It has.
And a lot of it's been quarterback related, and a lot of it's been wide
I
receiver
think,
related.
though, Jace, what are you thinking, G? I think it's more on the wide receivers than the quarterback.
Combo.
I need separate. Well, obviously it's both, but if I'm going to point fingers, I know the quarterback play has been lousy, but my God, you've got to get separation.
But, Jay, think
You
about
think that once, if a guy gets one long catch and run,
Yeah.
that changes all of that. We don't have that potential.
But Jay, think about this for a second. If a guy's cutting across the middle and the quarterback's throwing him a pass,
Yeah.
and he's got just a half a step on that defensive back. Well, if you hit him in stride, that might be 10, 15, 20.
Sure.
If he has to go back just a bit,
Tackled
that
right
could
away.
be the difference between 50 yards after the catch and 0.
I know, but so what if you put these wide receivers with Tua? I'm not going to say Patrick Mahomes because he throws guys open and he's just a better quarterback. But this group with Tua, what do the numbers look like?
I don't think it's any different than what it is. The
I don't either.
Dolphins, it's the receivers. It's not the quarterback.
You don't think it's any different at all?
No.
Come on.
No.
I don't
We
either.
did
Tua
the stat
versus
last
Deshaun?
week, Jason. That
No,
the
but
3
Deshaun hasn't
quarterbacks-
played the last 2 games.
What do you say, Mike?
We did the stat last week about quarterback yak in terms of Brock Purdy, and he, Tua, and ironically Kenny Pickett, because of the 71-yard catch against
Right.
the Browns, were 1, 2, and 3 in quarterback yards after catch. So I think there is a little more quarterback initiative in what
There
generates
definitely
this
is.
stat.
I think it's speed with the receivers.
I
and
agree.
The ability to
I
run
agree.
away from guys.
That's what it
Yeah,
shows.
These guys out here-
Separation and then runaway speed.
When you watch it on film, I just keep going back to it because the only thing I can do is just say, okay, well, look, I'm watching what you're doing. When you watch Amari Cooper, he's not fast. But what Amari Cooper is, he's an elite guy off the line of scrimmage.
Route runner.
Stem routes, his stutter steps, whether he could cross over, get outside, do what he needs to do. He made 3 people fall. Completely fell just by moving around and shaking them off the line of scrimmage.
Broke 2 ankles.
When you see DPJ, he does not run good routes. I mean, he's not sudden. You have to be sudden and twitchy to be able to get off the line of scrimmage. He does not have vertical deep speed like that. And he's really not a guy that's going to be a high point guy that's going to go up and be 6'4" and go up over somebody and catch the ball in the red zone. He's just a regular receiver. Elijah Moore is a short target, a small target. You know, you got to put the ball directly on him. We saw times where Deshaun Watson threw him the ball and Elijah Moore could not get his feet in because he doesn't have a big catch radius. So when you take in consideration those 2 things, they just don't have, no disrespect, but the Jets, there's a reason why they was like, oh, we ain't giving you no money. We got Garrett Wilson over here. What are you talking about? That's real.
By the way, let me give you some of the wide receivers who are in the top 10 in yards after catch that are not speed burners. One of them, Adam Thielen, is top 10 yards after catch.
I don't think speed is speed's a factor, but
I
speed
think
can
you said it's
help.
speed.
I think it is speed.
Speed
A lot of
can
it.
help guys be there. But
Separation.
also, if you're a great route runner,
you create space.
and you're making your own space, It doesn't take much, and you don't have to be a world-class sprinter. You just have to be 1/10, not 1/10 slower than the DB chasing
but
you.
that's why where the quarterback puts the ball is a huge difference.
Of course, it is.
But Keenan Allen, not a speed burner at all.
Keenan Allen is a supreme
great route runner.
and he has a big
Evan
body.
Ingram is top 10 in yards after the catch.
Evan Ingram is going against linebackers. He's a tight end, and he's athletic.
Well, he's the only tight end on the list.
Okay, now
so
read
it's
some
not
of the other names on the list.
Well, it's the other names are the guys you'd expect.
Right.
Tyreek Hill's number 1. Jamar Chase is number 2.
Right.
I think you can always find the anomaly, and maybe there's an explanation for it. But by and large, to me, the biggest factor is speed and being able to run away from guys.
Right.
How many times do we see the Browns get caught from behind?
All the time.
Every time. When they catch one and they're on their way to the end zone, I know they're going to get caught. They're not going all the way to the house.
How many teams have gotten worse quarterback play than the Browns so far this year? Not many.
Not many.
No, where are they? 30th? I think we run that.
30th
stat.
and what?
30th in passing yards
All
per
right,
game.
we got to do super chat.
We got two more real quick. We're going to run
two
through
more
these stats real quick, then we got super chats. We have crushed Jed Wills a lot in the show. When he does well, we got to give him a little credit. So how about the Browns continue to run it behind Wills? His 78.1 run block rate against San Francisco is highest of the season by 21 points. They had 10 attempts rushing against San Francisco to the left side around Jed Wills, either to his left or his right. 10 carries, 62 yards, and a touchdown, by far their most productive area of run against the 49ers. Of those 10 carries, 4 first downs, 3 of them went for 10 or more yards. Jacksonville versus Indy last week, attacking the left tackle or running behind their own left tackle was also their most productive area of running against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Against the Indianapolis Colts.
Best play of the season for for your boy Jedrick Wills. On that play when Kareem Hunt scored, you should go back and watch that. He was hauling tail.
Yes, he was.
Getting upfield with effort in the third or fourth level.
And DPJ as well.
Just watching it live, that felt like Will's best game of the year.
Yep,
By the way,
agree.
he's still 58th in run block grade PFF and 64th in pass grade. So he's got a long way to go.
That's like your Blutarski, though, and you get a B on a test.
Well,
you're still going to be a 0.10.
Right.
Bull just poured that cold water all over his hot meal.
By no means are we saying he's arrived.
Right.
What we're saying
he played his best game of the year.
When I was watching the game, even before I saw the grades, what popped into my mind was, okay, his pride's finally kicked in.
Yep.
He has gotten killed by everybody, local and national. It's not just local. I've seen some national shows take pot shots at him. Maybe the man's pride just kicked in and he said, all right, enough of this.
I hope so.
My family name is on the back of my jersey. I am not going to be getting disrespected and talked about, because if you talk about me, you talk about my whole family.
That's right.
Wear it with pride, bro.
Real quick, Mike, did you say the Colts' best run was behind their left tackle last week?
The Jaguars' best runs against Indy last week was also behind their left tackle.
All right, never
so
mind.
I would expect them to do it again.
It doesn't apply to what I was
And
gonna
Indy's
say.
two defensive ends who switched, they don't line up either side, they both have sub-50 tackling grades. Last stat you have to know, and this is more big picture. It doesn't seem to me, watching the Browns, that they use a ton of pre-snap motion. And it turns out the stats actually back it up. They are 17th in the league in using any kind of motion pre-snap. 47.3% of their snaps, they use some sort of motion. However, they only use motion at the snap. A guy in motion when the ball is hiked on 13.3% of snaps. That is 27th in the league. Snaps, especially with a young quarterback or an unproven guy like P.J. Walker, could open or lead to some easier throws, easier reads, because it makes the defense move. And there's always outliers, but for context, listen to the top teams in the league that use the most motion. Miami, 81% of the time. San Francisco, 78% of the time. The Chiefs, 69% of the time. The Rams, 65%, and the Lions, 63%. Four of the top 5 offenses in football this year, depending on the metric, but of the most efficient offenses, according to EPA, are teams that use a heavy, heavy, heavy dose of motion. And I would love to see Kevin Stefanski, even whoever's at quarterback, Watson, Walker, or DTR, start implementing some more pre-snap
especially
motion
with
into the
Watson
offense.
back.
You know, I'd be curious to see.
There should be more.
I'd be curious to see how that compares to previous years, because I felt like in the past there was a lot of pre-snap motion.
Right. 2020, it was a bunch of pre-snap motion, especially with the tight ends. I thought that year they went to the playoffs, they used motion as creative as any team in the league, moving pieces and parts. It looked like they've got away from him a little bit, but he was previously doing some of those things back then.
Absolutely.
All right, so get back to it.
So we will do.
We solved that problem.
Yeah. Well, hey, more motion. I think everyone wins. I got to read Super Chats, and then we got to get ready for TV. But if you ever find yourself in an emergency situation and need emergency antibiotics, JaceMedical.com is the place to go. The Jace case has dozens of add-on medication options that best fit you and your family's unique needs. Head over to JaceMedical.com. Use promo code LOCKEDON for a $20 discount on your order. That's promo code LOCKEDON at JaceMedical.com. Guys, we're heading over to TV in 4 minutes. I'm going to fly through some super chats here. The first one comes from Skilly, who also gifted 10 memberships, so shout out to Skilly.
Shout out to Skilly.
He says, I love your shirt, Jason. Any chance we're getting an updated UCSS shirt? I was looking to pick that one up the other day. Noticed that two of the guys were on it. We're working on it. Brody's bottom line said, would you try to play
You
PJ
can buy
and
this
DTR?
one for me for $1.99.
Like the Saints do with Derek Carr and Taysom Hill. I do not imagine a two-quarterback system if Deshaun can't play. Tay the Goat says turtleneck on Friday is insane.
Yeah,
I like the turtleneck look. I like the look.
bro.
Do It For Chubb says G dressed up like the host. G dressed up like he's ready to host. I'm going to change the words here to make this make sense. G dressed up like he's ready to host. Now that's what I call R&B compilation CD commercials. Aaron Barner said, been watching
I was
since
thinking
week
Soul
one
Train.
post-game show
like
and have
that.
been hooked. We appreciate you, Eric. And also, the defense Schwartz can stop Henry and CMC. We can stop anybody. Daryl says the Browns dominate 27-10. Unfortunately, our defense is so good. Schwartz will be highly touted as a head coach next season. Kool-Aid Mafia in the building. Love you guys.
Yes, sir.
From Daryl. Clee J440 says Tyrod Taylor plus this defense wins the Super Bowl. That's a stretch. Maybe we'll talk about that next week.
I had to wake up. Hold on.
That just inspired a topic for next week. I appreciate that.
right.
Clee J440. Roberto El Presidente says, shout out to the Dapper Twins, BKA G Silk Bush and J Cashmere Crawford. Looking good, fellas. Set Apart Laz says, can you guys dual broadcast WKYC and YouTube? Nope, you got to go watch on WKYC for now.
That's it.
I'm wearing a tux
Ray
next
Smith is
Friday.
having a great live show. Two more real quick. Michael Rivovich says, gee, I sent a follow-up email on our conversation yesterday. Looking forward to discussing it more. And Vernal Jackson says, I'm Garrett Bush, and these are the Temptations.
By the way, guys,
We need some dance moves, some synchronized dance moves.
the Colts have two starting offensive linemen that did not practice today.
All right.
And
that might make running the ball
One
tough.
of them says a brain injury. Oh. It doesn't say concussion. It says brain injury. You know how in the parentheses it'll say neck or leg or knee or whatever? It says brain.
I've never heard that before.
Also from Jake Trotter.
I've seen players before that look like they should be listed
Yes,
as brain injury.
right.
Yes, that's true. Also, Jake Trotter of ESPN says that in the media portion of practice, again, that's only a small part of practice, Deshaun Watson took all the first-team reps.
Ooh,
Trending that way.
wow, it is trending that way.
We'll talk
All right.
about it on TV.
Yeah, we're headed over to Channel 3. You can watch us on WKYC.com, the WKYC Plus app, or here in Cleveland on Channel 3.